Hey, what's going on, y'all? So today we're going to talk a little bit about pickup phasing. So when we have single coil pickups, the magnet's got to be right and the wirings have got to be right in order for everything to be in phase. So we're going to dig into that a little bit, and specifically with Telecasters, because they're a little bit different. You can't just go swapping wires around. So I'm going to show you what we need to do if we want to switch phase on a Telecaster pickup. So I guess we need to grab one. And I've got a bridge over here. So we'll go ahead and let me show you. I'm going to switch lenses and I'm going to show you what we're doing. All right, so here we have a neck and a bridge pickup for a Fender Telecaster. And typically, let's just say for the sake of conversation that this coil is wound clockwise and this coil is wound clockwise. And then we take the negative wire and we hook the negative wire up to the start of the coil. And then here we would hook up the negative wire to the start of the coil. And those pickups would be in phase. If there were there's two other things that you could change that would kind of screw this up. One would be if this one was clockwise, this one was clockwise. But the magnets on this one were south polarity, and the magnets on this one were north polarity. Can you see how that black magnet goes black, and then you put it over on this one and see how it flipped around and went white? That's telling me that this is south up polarity on this pickup, and this is north polarity on this one. So if this one was clockwise, this one was clockwise, but the magnetic polarity was opposite like they are, then the pickup would be out of phase. So what we would have to do is, instead of hooking up the negative to the start of the coil and the negative to the start of the coil, we would have to hook up the negative to the finish of the coil. We'd have to flip the wires around. Which in this case then, what you would have is this coil goes this way, this coil goes this way. This magnet is south up, this magnet is north up, but the wires are flipped. So then what we would have is hum canceling in the middle position. So when your Telecaster switch was in the middle position, then you would have hum canceling situation. What if you had a box of pickups and you put it in the guitar and they were out of phase for some reason? Never mind hum canceling and all that, but let's say you just had some random pickups in a box, or you were mixing brands. Let's say you bought a bridge pickup from me and you bought a neck pickup from somebody else, and you wanted to put them together, but then when you wired it up and you put the black wire on the ground and the white wire on the hot on this one, and you put this black wire on the ground and this white wire on the hot, all of a sudden they were out of phase. It would give you this like quacky, really thin, super terrible sound, right? How would you fix it? Well, the easy way would be to just take the wires off the switch and just flip them around. So hook this one up to the ground and hook this one up to the switch. Just take one of the pickups and flip it around. There's a complication with the Telecaster though. You can do that with a Strat all day long, it's super easy. But there's a complication with the Telecaster. Let me show you what that is. Okay, so we've got our Telecaster bridge pickup. Now here's the complication. The negative right there is soldered to the base plate, okay? Because on a Telecaster, see the screw holes here? When this is mounted in the guitar, the screws go up through the bridge, right? And then the strings touch the bridge, and that's how you get your string ground, is by the screws going through this base plate and using this ground. Well, here's the problem. If this was out of phase, then what we would do is we'd switch the wires around, then all of a sudden, this base plate would become hot, the white would become ground, and then all of a sudden, when we touched our strings, it would buzz because our strings would be hot, because this black is soldered to this base plate, goes through the screw, then the screw goes to the bridge, and then the bridge goes to the strings, and you touch the strings are hot, it would make a buzzing noise. So it is not practical on a Telecaster to switch wires to adjust polarity. That means that you would do it on the neck pickup. But there's a problem there too. Let me show you. On the neck pickup, when it's done properly, there is also a wire that goes from the negative to the cover. And the reason we would ground this cover is so that when we touch it, it doesn't buzz. If you're playing the guitar and your finger touches it and it's not grounded, it will cause noise. So this is grounded, just like this bass plate is grounded. So then we would have the same exact problem. If we were going to swap this around to play with our phase, like that, and this black was then hot, then all of a sudden, that little dude right there would hook up the cover to hot, and we would touch it and it would make a bunch of noise. So if we're going to play with phase on a Telecaster, because we're mixing brands of pickups, or we want to do some funky switching, like let's say we want to do a 4-way switch that has series switching, then that means you would have to mess with that wiring. You'd leave the bridge pickup alone, and then you'd have to modify the neck pickup. So that's what we're going to do right now. Let me show you. Okay, so we've got our Weller soldering gun, we've got our Kester solder, we've got our fluke ohm meter. We'll leave links to all this stuff in the description of the video. This soldering iron, I use this every day in the shop, only costs 40 bucks. Unbelievable. I love this soldering iron. Little brass dude right here to clean the tips with, and then this Kester solder is the bomb. So let's go ahead and get this dude modified. So first thing we're gonna have to do is we need to disconnect the wire from the cover. Now you could say, well, if I just disconnect the wire from the cover, then now what I could do is I could switch my wiring however I wanted. The problem is that the cover would not be grounded, and then therefore we would end up having noise when we touched it, or we could have noise when we touched it. So it still needs to be grounded, but we don't want it grounded through this wire. So what we do, I'm gonna clip this off because we don't need that extra wire. And then we're gonna take another length of ground wire, but so the customer doesn't get confused, I'm not going to twist it into, so this is the pickup hookups, right? So then you could switch these around, mess with your polarity, do whatever you want to do, no big deal, be super cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this wire, an extra one, and we're gonna take some solder, and we're gonna solder it to the cover. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow us to be able boom. Now, what we have is we have our pickup hookup wires, normal. And if we wanted to switch around the phasing or use a 4-way switch or any kind of fun stuff like that, boom, there you go, you can use them. Then what you do is you just ground this to the back of a pot separately, and I left this really long, that way he could run it wherever he wanted to. And then that would be a separate ground that didn't have anything to do with the signal, so you wouldn't have to worry about noise, you wouldn't have to worry about which way the pickup was facing, none of that kind of stuff. Or which of the way the pickup was wired, any of that kind of stuff. So now, that'll work. So there you go. There is how to modify pickup phasing. Like I said, with a Strat, it's no big deal because you don't have metal covers, you don't have any of that kind of stuff. But with a Tele, it's a little bit of an issue, so that's why we have to add that extra wire. There's a lot of companies actually that will charge you an extra like $15 or something when they make the pickup to do that, which as you can see, it only took me 2 seconds. It was super easy. If you order pickups from me and you want to mess around with other wiring things, just put a note in the order. When you go to dylantalkstone.com and you order Tele pickups from me, just put a note in the order, hey, I'm gonna do a 4-way switch. hey, I'm gonna do a phase flip. Hey, I'm gonna do this crazy wiring. Go ahead and put a third wire on that neck pickup for me. And I'll just do it for you. No big deal. Pretty awesome. I'll tell you what, we haven't done this in a while. Let's go over a couple of questions from a few of the previous videos because there's been some interesting ones in there that I think we should cover. All right, a couple of viewer questions at the end of a video, just like we used to do. Let's see. Off topic a bit. What are the headphones Dylan is wearing in this video? I like that hinge fold design. Actually, those are right here. They are AKGs. They are the K371. What I like about them is exactly what he just said. So when I'm editing video or listening to something or wanting to listen to my guitar and record at the same time, the one ear folds up. So you can do like a one ear off kind of deal. Also, when I'm working and if I'm trying to listen to what's going on around me, it's super helpful. They sound amazing and they really block out all of the noise. And I also like the fact that they have 3 different cords, like a 6-foot cord. It has a mini XLR. So they have a 6-foot cord, a 3-foot cord, and then a coily cord. These things are awesome. I'll leave a link to them in the description. I just got them off of Amazon, so I'll leave a link to them in the description. They're killer. On our Positive Grid Spark video last week, so what does it do that GarageBand doesn't do? First of all, it sounds amazing. GarageBand does not sound amazing. And I know that's not fair. GarageBand's kind of cool. And it makes it to where you can play your electric guitar straight into a computer with like an iRig or something. But there is a major, major step up in the quality of the tone, as well as the feature set when moving to a Positive Grid Spark. Huge difference. I think it's more functional. That's just my opinion. Could you please make a video with your down-to-earth helicopter view about intonation and what we should realistically expect on that front? For example, I have a great Strat, neck relief is perfect, intonation too. Yet on the thick E, F is and G all sound a tad bit sharp. No matter how much I tune, check everything, etc. I think it's just the pressure of my fingers. Okay. Intonation's very, very simple. It's just a mathematic measurement of a compensation for the thickness of the string. We can do another video about it for sure. In fact, we will be doing a video, some more intonation stuff coming up. But what I will say there is if you, on the thick E, if the F and the G notes on the thick E sound out of tune, that's all the way down here at the nut, you might want to check your nut height because your nut height might be too high. If the cowboy chords, you know, down here at the low end are off and you can't get it right and you think your intonation is right, then it's possible that your nut height is too high. If the money-making part of the fretboard above the 12th fret is off, then the intonation itself is probably off, or the string height is off. You have to go all the way back to the fundamentals of guitar setup, start all over before you can understand why your intonation is right or wrong. You need to make sure that your nut height, your neck relief, and you did not mention nut height in your description, and your string height are all right before you check your intonation. So I would go back to the beginning and start over, basically, to make sure that that's correct. We did a video a long time ago about a roller bridge in a Bigsby versus like a fixed tune-o-matic in a Bigsby and sustain. And he says, timing a sustained note should not have the left hand vibrato influencing the note. Too much inconsistency. A single held note would have been more fair. I think you need to do a video comparing the Callahan Billet Steel ABR1 bridge and stop bar setup to the Babbitt's full contact hardware setup. Both are superior to the normal Gibson style bridge and tailpiece. I will not do that video comparison, and I will not do the video over again, and here's why. I do not believe in doing tests that aren't realistic. If I'm going to hold an open string and see how long it rings out for, that tells us nothing. Except for it tells us if the nut is good and if the saddle is good, and it doesn't have any burrs on it or anything. So that's good. So, but that's just a function, whether it works or it doesn't. We actually play with our fingers on the fretboard. And when we fret notes, we have more of a opportunity to choke them out, to kill sustain, and to cause problems. So that's how we actually play. So that's how I'm going to do the test. I don't believe in doing a test just to do a test. It's got to be how you actually play it. The reason I won't redo it, or I won't test those other bridges, is because I think, this is just an opinion, but I have good reason for it. I think that too many people care too much about how long a note sustains. If it's clean, if the nut is good, if the saddle is good, if the fretwork is good, the setup on the guitar is good, then the guitar, the note will sustain and last long enough for most playing. Unless you're sitting there for literally 15 seconds on one note and you want it to ring the entire time, like forever and ever and ever. Nobody plays like that. I mean, I guess there are some people that do, but most people don't. And when they do, they use a compressor, or they use the natural compression of the amp. They use what I call secondary sustain. Primary sustain is all about the guitar and the mechanics of it. But most people, when they play like that, like slide and all that kind of stuff, they use something else to help them. And so I think there's no point in it. Everybody wants to argue about sustain, and it doesn't have enough sustain. Yes, it does. This wood has more sustain than that wood. Does it really? And does it matter when you're playing an Allman Brothers song in a bar? Nope, it doesn't at all. Okay, and the last one, the guy's name is Paranoid Android. Okay, so don't cut the strings while they have tension on! Exclamation point, exclamation point. I love doing that on purpose because A, it doesn't hurt anything, and B, I think it's funny because everybody flips out when I do it. I just do it. I do it on purpose because it's funny. It doesn't hurt anything. I want to do a video pretty soon. I just have to find the right thing to do it. But I want to talk about the strength of a guitar neck. I want to talk about the strength of a guitar and how overblown that whole subject is. You could stand on your guitar most of the time. It will not hurt it. We don't actually put as much, there's about 100 pounds of tension, but that's not a lot. That is not a lot for the construction of a guitar. So it doesn't hurt it. There's nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. Don't freak out. Change your strings. Take them all off all at the same time. Put them back on. Leave it off for the afternoon while you're cleaning and doing stuff, a couple hours. It's not going to hurt anything. Put it back on. Check your setup again. Everything will be fine. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you check out our live video coming out on Thursday. We're going to do a Q&A, which is really cool. I have a bunch of really cool content coming up that you don't know about yet. That's pretty awesome, number one. And number two, make sure you check out the special edition shirt that we have on Dylan Tuck's Tone. It's only going to be up there for a couple more weeks. So, and then we're going to switch it out for something else. And as the time of making this video, I have 2 of those really cool guitar straps left. If you want one, make sure you reach out to me right away because I only have 2 and they are killer. Hopefully on Thursday on our live video, if I still have them, if they're still available, I'll show them to you on our live video. They're super cool. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you soon.